What is going on? Everybody, if you were at Tony Robbins, I hope y'all shook that ass this morning like Joseph McClendon III said. I know I did. I went on a run this morning. I almost killed myself, but yeah, I feel fantastic. How's everyone else doing this morning? I already asked Medina. She said she's fantastic. Best day of her life.
I'm alive, excited, and full of energy, baby.
Yeah, buddy.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Make a move.
Yeah.
Make a move.
Yeah.
Good morning.
Not picking my nose this time.
I can't do whatever I say I can do, and that's bullshit.
And that's bullshit.
All right. Okay. Brandon Torres, you look like you're tired, bro. You've been going to Bakersfield? You going back down to Bakersfield to sell some more houses, bro?
I'm going wherever the money takes me.
Hey, bro, I love that. Never too good for a deal anywhere. I love the attitude. Love the attitude. All right. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So everybody having a pretty good morning so far. What'd you guys do this morning? I'm curious.
I did cardio. Now I'm getting ready to go do some inspections.
Oh, inspections. Okay. Yeah, I did cardio too. I damn near killed myself. 3 weeks on my 4th weekend of my cut, but I haven't really ran for quite some time. Decided to run 4.5 miles this morning. Pretty much fucking almost died, but I'm still here. I'm alive, ready to go. Darren, what about you, bro? What'd you do this morning?
At the gym, I'm just kind of walking around doing some cardio now. I decided to go outside.
Nice.
Just finished the workout, got the day started, and just gonna go do some meetings and get to work, baby.
Rock this up. Veronica, what about you? We know you're not picking your nose. Oh, she's back in the waiting room. Oh. Whoa. We have 2 Veronicas in here. Andrea, how's your morning going? You're muted. You're muted, Andrea.
Took a shower, had breakfast, went to the gym last night, did a little movement this morning to get myself going, did a little religion, and I'm here.
Okay. Veronica, how about you? What did you do this morning?
I skipped the gym this morning, but I'm having coffee right now.
I woke up like this. Okay. All right, Darren. So I know we had a really impactful time at Tony Robbins. For those of you who didn't make it, definitely next time we have a team event. I definitely would encourage you guys to go. But Darren, kind of what are some things that you and the team, I know you had a team meeting this week and stuff. What are some things you guys have been seeing? What are some challenges or some stuff maybe we want to role play or objections we want to handle?
Yeah. Well, I can tell you that, going to an event like that is something that propels you into a different direction when you really immerse yourself into it. It can be very emotional for those of us who were there. I mean, there was laughter, there were tears, there was yelling, it's a full-blown emotional roller coaster, right? And it's meant to shake you up because in order to change, you have to break yourself down. You have to break your body down. You have to do those things so then you can implement new patterns. And I think the biggest thing for me is that I got out of the event was recognizing the patterns in my life. What patterns do I have that are ultimately taking me away from my goal, my vision, my dream? What are some of the patterns and things that maybe that I never really recognized before? Things that I just do, right? I'm just like on autopilot and without thinking, because at one point in time, I just decided to do that. And one day led to 2, then 3, then a week, then a month. And before you know it, I'm starting to shape my identity around these patterns, and I become my patterns, right? Whereas that identity doesn't line up with the person that I need to become, the person, like when I envision what kind of person I need to become to be, to have the dreams and have the goals that I have, that I want to have for my life. So I like to say, like, what are the habits of $100 million Darren? You know, what is $100 million Darren? If I were to picture and write down what $100 million Darren looks like, what are the characteristics that he would display? Would he wake up early? Would he do what he says he's going to do? Would he show up late, or would he show up on time, or would he show up early? Right? Like all these things, I try to picture what $100 million Darren would look like. And then it gives me kind of like a template, you know, to what I can start changing myself into. And one of the biggest things that has helped me this week after the event, though, is I tell myself that I do what I say I'm going to do. When I say go, we go. I tell myself that when I wake up and I open my eyes in the morning, I say in my head, the first thought that has been coming to me the last couple of days is, when I say we go, we fucking go. Right? And for me, that's me talking to myself. That's me telling my body, if I say wake up, we're fucking going. It's not, all right, let's pull the covers over, let's hit the snooze alarm, we're going. I'm making that decision to go. I control you, body. It's almost like a battle on the inside, right? And that's been helping me, you know, just little things from the event. You know, as far as role play goes, you know, I think that I know you guys are killing it with the Google pay-per-click script. And I would love to hear, you know, how you guys handle those phone calls, and maybe how you pick up the phone call, how you handle those conversations. I would love to hear, you know, some of you guys that take those, and just kind of hear how you do it.
Yeah, and thank you for sharing that, man. It was really impactful for me too, and I think we all go through that battle when we wake up and we're like, oh, I want to go, but my bed feels cozy, or oh, I want to go, but I have a headache. Like, you know, we can give ourselves kind of an excuse on why not to do anything, and I'm right there with you, Darren, on like, you just have to do it. Like Nike, just do it. You wake up, like, you know, because if we don't practice and we don't inch ourselves closer to the person that we want to be, we're going in the opposite direction. And it's like compound interest, right? It's either going to compound in our favor for the better, or it's going to compound against us for the worse. And so do you want to get closer to where you want to be, to the person you want to be, or do you want to take a step further? And I think the important thing too, that I do every night is I ask myself at the end of the day, did I get closer to the person that I want to become? You know, if the answer is no, then I need to identify what bad habits I had in that day, and going into the next day kind of correcting that. So no, thank you for sharing that. As far as the Google pay-per-click, so we do have an opening line, and then we use, I don't know if you ever heard, are you familiar with the LP Mama script?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll kind of go through the script without like, you know, having a partner, just so you guys can kind of hear the lines, and we can give you, you know, we can share the scripts. I can talk to Jordan, get those over. But essentially, you know, lead comes in, registers on your website. First phone call is going to be, you know, hey, Darren, this is Andre with the camaragroup.net, or hey, this is Andre with the free home search website you just registered on. I just wanted to call and introduce myself, and I see you were looking at homes over in the Modesto area. Is that correct? Okay, great. Now, are you just browsing, or are you actively searching for a home, Darren? Just browsing? Okay, perfect. Well, over at the Camara Group, it doesn't matter to me if you buy a home today or 5 years from now. You're never going to get any pressure from me. But what we found is people like yourselves that are just looking at any early information stages ultimately end up making a lot less mistakes and get a better home. So I definitely applaud you on that. Now, I know you're just looking, Darren, but in a perfect world, how soon are you looking to make the move? Okay, the next 6 months? Awesome. And outside of Modesto, were there any other areas that you were interested in? Okay, awesome. And then what price range are you comfortable with, Darren? Okay. And if you don't mind me asking, how did you come up with that price? Just like a mortgage calculator. So it sounds like you haven't talked to a lender yet then, correct? Okay. No worries at all. And just curious, man, are you going to be a first-time home buyer? Wow, that is awesome, man. That is awesome. And are you aware of the different programs you can take advantage of as a first-time home buyer? No? Okay. Well, I can certainly get you connected with someone from our preferred lending team. We are a one-stop shop here at the Camara Group, and they can definitely give you more information on those loan products after we get off the phone. Now, as far as moving to the area goes, Darren, I mean, what's making you kind of focus on Modesto? Okay, your sister lives there. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Wanting to move closer to family and everything like that, and kind of what's important to you. Kind of, what are some things that you guys are looking for? Okay, safe neighborhood. No, totally understand. Good school districts. Okay. Awesome. Well, you know what, Darren, at this point, people that are in the same position as you, kind of what the next step would be is us scheduling something where we can either meet in person or on Zoom. And essentially what we're going to do is it's about 15, 20 minutes. I'm going to take a deep dive into your situation. I really want to kind of talk to you more in more depth about really what's got you motivated to make the move, also educate you guys on the market, and also take a deep dive into exactly what you guys are looking for. So when I'm looking at homes, previewing homes weekly and daily, or I see homes, I know exactly what you're looking for. When a great opportunity comes up, I can definitely let you know about that. So I'm looking at my schedule, man. In person or does over Zoom work best for you? Okay, great. And last question, I have tomorrow at 12, and I have Saturday at 10 a.m. Which time works best for you? All right, perfect. Okay, so that's it.
Nice. I like that. Yeah. Yeah, I just kind of want to compare. I mean, a lot of the stuff Jordan and I usually share, and I mean, what I've taught everyone to do is pretty similar. I just like hearing it. I think you did, like, obviously you've practiced this hundreds of times. So that was really good, man. I appreciate that. I think.
What like percentage of people do you think like respond to your like what you're saying right there? Because I mean, it sounds amazing, but I feel like half the people just like hang up the phone. Are you
So I think on day 4, Dan Graziaso said you need to meet people where they are, and you need to help them feel understood. So the thing is every time I go through the script, am I going to book an appointment? No, but I want to take what's called like the 2mm approach. So any information I can find out from them gives me an additional reason to follow up with them. So if I'm only able to get so far as to find out the city and the bedroom bathrooms that they want, but I'm able to kind of establish a connection with them, well, I'm going to set a follow-up with them in a few weeks. And then I'm going to say, hey, Mr. Mrs. Buyer, hey, I know when we last talked, you were looking at Modesto for 3-bed, 2-bath, but one thing we didn't talk about was price range. What price range are we comfortable with? So every time you're calling them, you're giving them something of value, or you're trying to get some information from them. I mean, it really depends. I would say probably 10%, 15%, if I were to make a guess, that I can get into an appointment. But once again, it's kind of like when you're speaking to them, you just got to see what like makes sense. Because a lot of times when you have a script, you want to book the appointment, but it's like trying to put a square peg in a round hole if the person's not quite there yet. So I think it's just kind of on a case-by-case basis when you're talking to them. But if you're not able to get to the appointment, it's just like, how much information can I get from them so I can get them set up on that search, so I can kind of stay in front of them, and then so I can follow up with them, if that makes sense.
How many phone call attempts would you say it takes per Google pay-per-click lead to actually get them on the phone?
To get on the phone or get an appointment?
Just get them on the phone. Just get somebody to answer. So
I know Sheplock says, and this is one thing that we give up on leads a lot of the time. If you take the speed to lead approach, I think your chances are a lot higher, but I would say 3 to 5 attempts, sometimes even more. Sometimes it would take more. But I know Sheplock says like 24 attempts before you should give up on a lead. But I would say for me, I mean, getting on the phone with them or getting them to respond in some capacity, through email drips, text message campaigns, whatever, I would say probably right around that. Actually, I would say like maybe 5 to 7 attempts.
Yeah. No, that's exactly what I say too. I definitely just like hearing it from someone else who has some experience with it. That way everyone kind of hears that, because it is, You know, if you think you're going to call the first time or second time and they're going to pick up, it's not a Zillow lead, guys, right? You know, and frankly, Google pay-per-clicks are, in my opinion, even better because you have more control. You get to build a relationship. You get to start with them from the very beginning, as opposed to them calling, wanting to make an appointment, and you opening the door for them and just praying to God that when you get there, that hopefully they don't have an agent. Hopefully they like you. Hopefully, rather than establishing a relationship before you waste gas, before you waste time, before you waste energy, you get to have simply a phone call with them, and you're building rapport with them over the next couple of weeks, whether you're getting them a lender, getting them information, you know, you see their activity with how many listings you're sending them, you know, you're pouring value into them. So they're already somewhat committed to you, and you know that. I would rather work my ass off for people that I know are pretty much committed to me, rather than having a business developed around answering a phone call of people that really don't give a shit about me as long as I can open a door, right? So I just wanted everybody to keep that in mind, because it's I know it seems like the easier, softer way, right? I know a lot of you guys are kind of dependent on Zillow leads and things like that. And I don't think that's a great way to develop a thriving business, because Zillow is going to go away, guys. Just so everyone knows, Zillow is a title company, a lending company, and they're already canceling teams that have ad spend and things like that. So unless you're a flex team, you will be canceled. Now, this is probably a year or two away, but it's going to happen. That's the bottom line. And what they're doing is they are trying to take their Zillow flex teams that are dependent, that their whole business model is dependent upon their team members getting these leads. Zillow feeds them and they pay like a referral fee for each lead. These mega teams are dependent on them. So what they're going to do is they're going to say, hey, if you want us to continue, if you want to continue to be part of this flex program, you have to use our title company. You have to use our lender. And if you don't, X amount of times, right, then we boot you off flex. So they're trying to control the market, right? Which makes sense, right? I mean, it totally makes sense. And you could see why a big business would do that. So it's going to happen. So the reason why I just share that with you guys is because, you know, building your skills and building relationships with people is never going to go away. There's no way around it. If you want a successful, thriving, recession-proof business, you have to learn how to make the follow-up calls, be very strict on your cadence with your follow-up, 5 to 7 attempts minimum, right? Fortunately, we have GGMS that also accounts for, like he said, 24 attempts, right? We have text messages, emails, those also count as attempts. But phone calls, minimum of 5 to 7 times before you even get them on the phone. That's not conversion. That's just getting them the answer, right? So remember that.
Hey, question for Andre. Since you guys do a lot of Google pay-per-clicks, is there like a specific time that you find that's better, like morning, afternoon, later, evening, to get these people on the phone that you have more of a chance of talking to them?
I think it depends, to be honest. When I look at the time factor, I look at timing sometimes as like a limiting belief. Like, obviously we want a strategy. I found that between 9 and 11, typically, and like 2:30 to 6, 3 to 6 are typically going to be like your better times. But I've also had times where I call in the middle of the day and somebody's on their lunch and doesn't have anything better to do. And I'm able to talk to them. I think the biggest thing with the leads, I've made the mistake before and everything too, is like when they respond, when they ask for a showing request, like we have to be on top of it, right? But as far as the time frame, I would say probably 8:30 to 11, 9 to 11, 3 to 6 would be the better times to call them. And then you also have the call filters. So you can always click on the call filters and see who you need to call as well, or like who's going to probably have a higher probability of answering the phone, so you're not like shotgunning leads. But I would say those times would be like probably the better times to reach out to people.
Thank you.
No problem.
Yeah, all you guys, I mean, we all have pretty similar models, right? So you guys have GGMS. That's what he's talking about, guys, like is the call filters. And they have studied tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of phone calls, and the absolute best time to call is in between 4 and 7 o'clock. That is the absolute best time. The other best time is in the morning time, right, between 8 and 10 o'clock, right, kind of like what Andre said. That is the second best time. Either one of those windows is the best time, but it showed the data in between there. It was like detrimental. It was like 10% compared to like 80% pickup ratio. So, but here's the thing, guys. It does not matter, because I used to be stuck on this too, right? I'm going to make my call this time. I'm going to make it. Then what happens is you get analysis paralysis and you don't even make the calls, right? So focus on just building the habit and the pattern first. Just make the call per day, right? Just do it. Just clear your call filters out. Just start there. And then as you get in the habit of doing that every single day, then fine tune it, right? Well, I'm going to call people between this time. I'm going to call people between this time, but you have to build the habit first. You can't dial in a habit that you don't have, right? You know what I mean? So just start doing it 5 days a week, right? Even if it's just an hour. But the priority filter tab is so huge because that is behavioral based, right? So GGMS allows us to basically make these phone calls based on the person's actual behavior. So if they're going and they're clicking on they just clicked on your face. They're like, all right, Nicole, I clicked on your face. I just saw you. Now guess what happens? You get a alert in your priority tab, and it gives you a phone call task based on what it did. Lead return to site 3 times, lead click property 3 times, lead return to site after 30 days, whatever it is. They are literally looking at you right now, and they are on your page. So when you call at that specific time, they're more likely to pick up. That's the cool thing. So that's why it's called the priority tab, because that's the priority. Nothing else matters. And then everything else, you follow your prime, then you're active, then you're qualified, or you're new, prime, and then active. But just make sure you're clearing out your call filters, right? And then it's easy. And you do it every day, you're really only going to have like 5 to 10 phone calls to make if you're doing it every day, right? I mean, is that true, Andre? Like if you're not doing it every day, then you're gonna, when you log in, you're gonna have like 100 freaking calls to make and leads, and it's gonna be overwhelming. But if you're making your calls every day, I mean, there's probably days where you log in and there's like 5 total phone calls, right? I mean,
yeah. No, for sure. And then I'll go into the lead, like for us, I'll go into the lead pond and make calls in the lead pond. Like, all right, this week, I've been calling Sphere, but on Monday, I call 80 leads in the lead pond on top of like my leads that I needed to follow up. And then the follow-up cadence is very important too. If an active lead, you're supposed to reach out to every 2 weeks, but you're calling them 3 times a week, they're probably going to get pissed off and not want to, do work. So you have to implement the strategy. But yeah, like if you're doing it every day, it's not as daunting, right? And nothing is ever as daunting. And it's like when you procrastinate, it's just going to create the same reflection in your business. Your business is going to be scarce. And so it's just chipping away at it, one bit at a time. And to kind of piggyback off of what Darren was saying about Zillow, is like Zillow is the bright and shiny object. It's that Ferrari that you buy, and 2 weeks after you buy it, you're like, I'm over it. And I don't want to make this ridiculous payment every month, but like, I'm kind of like stuck with it. Google pay-per-clicks, there are Zillow leads in there. There are Zillow leads in there that are pre-approved, that are ready to go, that have done, that have already gone through the pre-approval process. but it's also about setting the expectation. We do have more influence over these people that, let's face it, buying a house is a very daunting and stressful process. And when we have control over the situation and we're able to guide them through it and create that, working relationship and make it easy for us and make it easy for them, it's a hell of a lot better than, teaching an old dog new tricks where you have a Zillow lead that's not pre-approved that's going to be mad at you because you won't show them 5 houses because they don't want to get pre-approved. That's not somebody that we want to work with. Or if they have an agent, that's not somebody that we want to work with and we want allegiance to. We want to be there and create relationships with people from the beginning. And we also have to look at it as like growing any type of crop. Like, I always tell everyone, like, I look at Google pay-per-click like a tree. The best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago, because you're going to have obviously shade today. But you have to, look at it from the perspective, like, you're working hard for these leads and you're gonna take a lot more pride in that versus if somebody hands you something and says, here you go. Here's, you're really not going to do any, if you're not really doing any work for anything, like, it creates it to be easy. And then it also, you lose a lot of momentum, or you lose a lot of skill sets. If that lead source wasn't there, let's say like a Zillow or like, an easy lead platform like that. And so you have to remember, like anything in life, I think we can all agree, like, if something was handed to us, we're not going to appreciate it as much as something that we had to consistently put work into. I can equate that to the gym. I can equate that to cold calling. I can equate that to sobriety. There's a lot of different things that we all can look at that help create that momentum. So it's like, if we want to have fulfillment, if we want to take pride in our businesses, like implementing the systems and calling on a consistent basis and working on our skill sets, like we're here on this Zoom today, that's what's going to lead to us getting, Masters Club, 20 deals a year, 40 deals a year, 50 deals a year, is just that consistent implementation and putting in action and working hard, and in this business, let's face it, sometimes you're going to work hard and things might not go. You might think things aren't going in your favor, but you still have to have that approach of like, hey, the breakthrough is coming. And then all of a sudden, because you didn't give up, 6, 10, 12, 14, you go on a freaking crazy run, and it's all because you're just staying committed to the plan and you're doing what you need to do and you're working hard, and you're going to feel a lot better that way than if you kind of just get something handed to you.
Can you explain what qualifies a lead to go into the lead pond? Like
Yes.
what is the follow-up that the agents have to make in order to ensure that their lead doesn't end up in the lead pond?
So what we've done now, Darren, is we instead of putting leads in the lead pond now, we put them in our junk pile once we're done trying to qualify them. And the reason why we put them in our junk file is because if we put them in the pond, we won't get notified, because that's just like that lead is now like, we kind of threw that lead to the wolves. So we keep them in the junk folder just in the event. Like, I had a lead that was in the junk folder the other day. Like, I scheduled an appointment with them to go show a property, and they're pre-approved, right? But if I didn't have them in the junk folder, I wouldn't have gotten notified, and then that lead wouldn't have got serviced. But essentially, qualifying a lead. So you look at all the categories. If you call them, they're a new lead that comes in. You're going to call them 3 times within the first 3 days. If they don't answer, you're going to put them in a qualify. Once you put them in a qualify, 4 other call attempts in the next 7 days. So over the course of 10 days, you're going to contact them 7 times. If that lead does not answer, out of the 7 times in the 10 days, you're going to put them in a junk. If the lead answers and the lead is ready to buy a house within the next 0 to 90 days, they are going to be considered a prime lead, or 0 to 60 days. If it's 60 days to 6 months, so 2 to 6 months, 3 to 6 months, we're going to put that lead in active. Now with the prime leads, once you put them in the prime category, you're not going to get as much of the AI that's reaching out to them, the drip campaigns and everything. It's going to be more 80% direct to consumer, 20% email drips, things of that nature. Active leads is going to be 50-50. Active leads, you're going to want to contact active leads every 2 weeks. Once every 2 weeks, you're going to want to contact the active leads. And that's going to be 50-50, 50 us, reaching out to them, 50 leveraging the technology to send them the drip campaigns and the text messages. Watch is going to be a little bit more, is going to be a lot more like the systems working and us contacting them once a month on the watch leads. And you can follow up with the watch leads anywhere between 6 to 12 months. Those are people that are going to be more than 6 months out, that we're going to reach out to. And then obviously junk lead is just anybody who said, oh, we're not interested. Oh, I'm not, I don't want to do anything, whatever. But we're still putting them in the junk folder because the junk leads are still going to be getting emails. They're still going to be getting email campaigns, trips, a text message once in a while, and we'll be able to maybe capture those down the line. But that's essentially the cadence. New lead 3 times within the first 3 days. New lead 3 times within the first 3 days. 7 times in the first 10 days. If they do not respond in the first 10 days, we're going to put them in the junk folder. If they respond within those 10 days, we will categorize the lead according to the conversation and the timelines that they give us.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that.
What about whenever in the notes area it says lead has been removed from, what is it, transaction plan or action plan? Do those automatically go to junk?
No, it could be based on a response. So if somebody replies stop, that could cancel an action plan. And then also too, an action plan could run out. An action plan could be implemented for a certain period of time, and then it's and then an action plan is expired. So that could be another reason. Any other questions, you guys?
I think I'm good. I think this is a good meeting.
For sure.
I appreciate all you guys being here. Thank you, Andre, for all the good info. You're always an amazing mentor and just very helpful. And I appreciate you. I appreciate all you guys. And I will catch you guys next week.
Okay. No, sounds good. Sounds good. I really appreciate it. And we will see you guys next week. As always, if anybody ever needs it,